Every once in a while, a video game really hits home. Whether we're blown away by the in-game world or shaken to our core by an amazing story, every gamer has at least one game that got under our skin. So we asked each member of the UNILAD Gaming team to open up about the last time a video game made us feel this way. Here's what we picked. Before we get into that though, don't forget to subscribe to UNILAD Gaming on YouTube and beep that bell to be notified whenever we post.
The Last of Us. From the opening beats through to the heart-stopping final sentence, the definitive moments of The Last of Us combine to deliver an unforgettable gut punch of emotion, one that for me unequivocally changed what I thought a video game could do. For decades, people have been able to see a movie or watch a TV show and get emotionally invested in the characters to a point where it's easy to empathize with their situation. The Last of Us didn't just bring this sense of human compassion to video games, a medium which typically has had a level of disconnect with its audience, and not only do it as well as Hollywood, but challenge them to do it better. The acting, directing, cinematography, and music build certain scenes in The Last of Us into a deafening cacophony of feelings that even now, 7 years after its initial release, make it the high watermark for all of those things not just in video games, but in emotional storytelling.
Celeste. Celeste is an utterly perfect game, and one I've been banging on about to anyone who'll listen for nearly a year now. What makes Celeste a perfect game, at least for me, is its portrayal of mental health, particularly anxiety, which is something I'm far too familiar with. It's something that Madeline, Celeste's hero, struggles with too, and the game is all about her attempt to climb a mountain via a series of gloriously challenging and inventive 2D platforming levels. Celeste is filled with tiny, subtle moments that show just how much of a struggle living with anxiety can be. Panicking in tense situations, jumping to the worst case scenario, even a spot of good old-fashioned self-loathing. But what really struck me as I climbed and jumped and dashed along with Madeline is that these things don't define who you are or what you can do. Madeline's anxieties manifest themselves in various ways, but she doesn't just defeat them in some hokey feel-good climax. She learns to accept and work with the darker aspects of herself. My big takeaway from Celeste, and this is something that has stuck with me since I beat the game, is that sometimes the voices in your head are literally the only thing standing in your way, so try not to listen to them quite so much.
SpiderMan. It might not be the most thought-provoking title to come out last year, but Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4 is such a perfectly told story, held together with tight gameplay, and such a cracking soundtrack that I had no other choice but to pick it. I don't want to go on and on about the moments that cut me deep, but at the risk of getting into spoiler territory, the last few cutscenes in the game's main story are heartbreaking. Insomniac just understood Spider-Man and went hard on the ethos that every time Spider-Man wins, Peter Parker has to lose. And credit where credit is due to Peter Parker mocap and voice actor Yuri Lowenthal. Thanks to him, I was a broken man at the end of that campaign.
Red Dead Redemption 2. Like many, I found myself truly immersed in the world of Red Dead Redemption 2, something that I hadn't fully experienced in a video game for a long time. The alluring world is full to the brim with life, and Rockstar did an amazing job with making you care for each one of the vast array of characters. Well, maybe not everyone. Mix this in with an emotive soundtrack and a story packed full of exciting, memorable moments, and you've got a video game that is set up to hit you right in the feels. All of them, at once. For me, these feels came mostly as a result of the game's protagonist, Arthur Morgan. He is a beautifully crafted lead and is emotionally deeper than most people will first realise. As you progress through the game, you shape Arthur's moral compass and learn some of his darkest secrets, developing a real connection with the player. I think at one point in November I honestly cared more about Arthur's health than my own, much to the detriment of the amount of time I spent with my girlfriend. The way Arthur accepts his hardship and suffering towards the end of Rockstar's tale really hit me. I watched in silence as the final chapter played out in front of my eyes, unable to suppress my empathy. If I could erase any game from my memory just to experience it for the first time again, it would be Red Dead Redemption 2.
Nier Automata. Nier Automata is a truly remarkable game, and one that I would strongly urge everyone to play, even if RPGs aren't usually your thing. Set in the year 11945 AD, you begin the game as 2B, an android tasked with reclaiming the planet Earth by flying through an apparently endless amount of mechanical enemies. This is when Nier starts to pull the thread of what it really means to be alive. 2B and her partner 9S may both look human and display seemingly real emotions, but the robot enemies you're forced to fight are just as capable of being human as you are, and that's not easy to handle. This alters the perspective of the player as you realise what a monster you truly are in the eyes of your enemy. After all, every hero is a terrorist to the other side. The game invites you to think about the meaning of life, and it's a subject that I, for one, will probably never fully understand, and I'm not even sure if I'm real anymore. Thank you for watching our video about the games that really spoke to us. Which games left their mark on you? Please let us know in the comments and subscribe to UNILAD Gaming for more great content.